Day.
We're pleased to welcome now Scott Bounds. He's a member of the Mississippi House of Representatives, serves District 44, serves as the chairman of the Appropriations. What is this? Which committee is that?
Appropriations B.
B House Committee, yeah.
B.
I want to make sure I got that right.
Yeah.
And also president of the fabulous Neshoba County Fair.
Man, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Appreciate that plug for the fair.
It's awesome.
Absolutely. We're just talking about it on a break and talking about some things we've got planned. I hope it all works out. We're
looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. Always do. Always a great time, great event. Super Talk is always pleased to be part of that.
Absolutely. We're glad to have you all as a partner.
Yeah.
Sure are.
All right, so we're down to, final month, I guess, or so?
Yeah, so just looking at the deadline calendar this morning prior to coming on, just to be sure my days were right, we're in the 65th calendar day of the session of a 90-day session. So 25 days to official Sine Die.
Okay.
I think official Sine Die German is set for April the 5th or 6th.
That's right.
But, it's, when you get to this point in the session, Gerard, you've got deadlines almost some twice weekly that are dictating the flow of legislation right now.
Yeah.
So, and it's a process that should and is in place, and it makes the flow of legislation go better, having those deadlines.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't think Congress has those deadlines except when it comes to spending money, and then they'll do stuff.
Then they kick it.
12 hours.
They punt.
Yeah. So, the way our system is set up, it really works good to have those deadlines that keeps us moving and keeps the flow going. So, just sort of a quick summary. Again, was looking at today is a deadline day, by the way.
Okay.
Today is the day that is the deadline for floor action on bills that originated in the other chamber. So the House today is considering Senate bills on the House of the floor, and the Senate is considering House bills on the Senate of the floor, the floor of the Senate. Just looking at the calendar this morning, the Senate does their calendar a little bit different than the House does. They had 175 plus bills on their calendar, but that's not bills that have to be debated today. All of them, some of them are the appropriation bills that have a later deadline, but they are on their calendar. The day is a general bill deadline, and they number all of theirs sequentially. So they start at number one and go to the last one. In the House, breaks ours down in categories and motion to reconsider and appropriations and ways and means. And if you have two, you have two, and then the next category starts at number one. But as of today, we had about 21 general bills on the calendar that we've got to dispose of today.
Yep.
Now, some of those are things that everybody's been watching. The school choice bill is on the House calendar day, and a Senate bill. We had taken, I think it was Senate bill 2618. It was a Senate bill that dealt with school attendance officers, and we put the House language of House Bill 1435 in it, and that allow for district-to-district transfers. I don't foresee that making it today.
Let me stop you right there, Representative Bounds. This is something we've talked about on the program a long time, and I've been advocating for expanding school choice in Mississippi since we founded Empower Mississippi. Grant Callen, of course, the founder, CEO, and asked me to serve as the chairman of the board of that organization for 10 years. So something I've been working on since 2014. Why can't we seem to get this done? What are the objections?
Well, Gerard, this is not a canned response, but I wish I could answer for the Senate, but I can't. The House took under Speaker White this year. We took very strong positions on some school choice and some other public education things. District consolidation, the Tim Tebow Act, things that went down to the Senate, and I will tell you, those are things that, and I'm going to use this, but the fact of the matter is, it is what it is. These are things that Trump supports, and Mississippi, the Mississippi voters supported Trump. So to me, it appears to be one of those things we need to get behind the things that the voters support.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we are elected to do, is to hear the will of the people. And I think the House's position on the bills that we had this year, some of them I know didn't make it out of the House, but I think we'll come back next year. And I can't tell you what the opposition is in the Senate. It seems like every year that we have, pro education choice bills that allows parents of kids to have the flexibility to send their kids to the school to where they think that child will benefit the most and get the best education. And at the end of the day, isn't that what public education should be all about?
Yeah.
So.
Well, I don't mind saying it. The lieutenant governor is a strong opponent of most school choice. He on the show, I talked to him about it, and he could see fit, which is honestly an improvement and a little bit more lenient on the matter than it has been in the past. But a few weeks ago he said, open enrollment for those in failing districts is what he said he could support. But he couldn't even get that passed in the Senate. I think Senator DeBar, who chairs that committee, he too is a very staunch opponent of anything that has to do with school choice. And, of course, the power of committee chairpersons
sure.
and how that process works. So, I mean, it's been next year for 12 years.
Yeah.
And I think next year we'll get the same result.
Well, I feel very confident, and I can't speak for what's going to happen 9 months from now in the 2026 session, but I feel that the House will again take a very bold stance for education choice.
I agree. I mean, the Speaker supports it.
Sure,
He's
absolutely
prioritized it.
And we've proven just by the votes this year that we've taken on some of those issues that the House is willing to. If there's provisions in some of that legislation that is not compatible with the Senate, well, let's at least go to conference and let's talk about it.
Yeah,
and,
we can't even get there.
Yeah, so. But those bills those bills are on the calendar today. Another one that has generated a lot of interest. There's two DEI bills still alive. The Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, House Bill 1193, and I think it's Senate Bill 2515. Both chambers have put in their versions and a strike all into those bills. Those bills are on the calendar today. I wouldn't be surprised if right now while I'm sitting here, the House is not taking that bill up. It was on the calendar early. So
really,
yes. So and I will tell you again too. That is one of those things too that we as conservatives here in Mississippi, we believe that, or I believe, but the conservatives believe, the people that supported President Trump and that voted, we believe that hiring and things like that at our public universities and public schools ought to be done based on merit and not race, gender, or ethnicity. I mean,
right. Pretty straightforward.
Well, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, that's what obviously responsible business owners do, and that's how they are successful in doing it. It's getting the best people that they can on the team based on their qualifications and based on their merits. So, I'm not real sure. I can't say, Gerard, exactly what the differences in the two bills are. There are some differences. I feel like that. The House and the Senate will pass both versions today. They'll go to conference and then hopefully be worked out.
As I recall, the Senate bill only applies to higher ed, and the House bill also extended into K through 12.
K through
right?
12, community colleges, public, IHL.
Representative Bounce, are you familiar with this American School Counselors Association? Is that something you've ever heard? And honestly, I'll be honest with you, I never heard of it until one of our listeners, who is a member of the Ocean Springs School Board, has informed me that this is a far-left organization that we apparently at the State Department of Education level are a member of. And we therefore incorporate much of their guidance into our curriculum. And there's a limit on what individual districts can do to pull back on it. She's probably listening, and if I got that wrong, please let me know, Casey. She's been very free with the information to me. And I've talked to Senator Boyd about this, who's the author of 2515. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, it was kind of after it went through the Senate. She's trying to figure out a way. Where I'm going with this is I would like for you to look in to if it makes sense for Mississippi to remain a part of that or remain affiliated with that association.
Yeah. So first of all, I'm not I'm not aware of the association.
I wasn't either.
But I will say that there's associations for just about everything out there.
Oh, there's no doubt.
And certainly, and look, I will tell you, even here at the state level, Gerard, I mean, we've got associations that in education that are far left too.
No doubt.
And it's about protect. It's all about the money at the end of the day. It's not about they advocate not what's best for the student all the time.
No doubt.
And a lot of times they can be strong allies with us also, but a lot of times we're on different wavelengths on what we
Come right back.
Sure.
We got Representative Scott Bounds.
Talk a little budget.
You've got it. We're coming right back. So we're visiting with Representative Scott Bounds. So my friend in Ocean Springs, I just notified her that we were talking about this, and so
good.
I think, honestly, and I wasn't trying to catch you off guard on that,
No,
but it's one of those things that this just sort of stuff happens down to the agency level that you can't know everything.
Yeah, we were talking about that off air, and within the Department of Education, they're a multi-million-dollar budget here in the state, and they have a lot of. The legislature gives them a lot of flexibility on internal rulemaking and things like that. Everything they do is not in statute,
right?
And it shouldn't be.
But we have a board, which is appointed by the governor, lieutenant governor, and the speaker.
That's right. That's exactly right, and that's where the accountability starts.
Supposedly, that's where it's supposed to come from.
That's the way the business model is supposed to work.
That's exactly right, and I support that. And it's just something that might be worth looking into. And maybe it doesn't get done this session. I appreciate that, but maybe something to look into. And I'll have her send to me. She has before on the text line some of the stuff that they are having to implement at the district level as a function of being part or a member of this association.
Right.
I think most Mississippians would find objectionable. All right, so let's talk about budget. You just said multi-million-dollar budget, Department of Education. We're talking about the State Department of Education. Now we're talking about education funding. That's a different matter. That's 53% of the total.
We're talking about operational programs and administrative, somewhere, I think, north of a little over $200 million. I think maybe something like that is our annual appropriation. I think my figures are correct, and
that's.
But they're responsible again, Gerard, for a lot. I mean, a lot of the programs that they have to administer, the legislature through the years has charged them with. So we have to give them the funds to do it. And just real quick, the third grade reading gate that we did back in 2013. I mean, that meant we had to hire additional reading coaches and things like that to get these kids. But it was a solid, sound investment into education in Mississippi when we did that, and so they have the flexibility to do those things. But,
54% of our budget, of course, as you know, goes to all education.
Right,
and that's what, 3.6 billion, something like that, I think.
Yeah,
maybe a little less.
It's
3.6. Yeah.
Throw this out real quick for the listeners' enjoyment or entertainment. When I was my first year in the legislature in 2004, our K through 12, the MAEP appropriation at the time was a little under $850 million, and now we're at $3.2 billion.
Yeah,
so it has gone up.
Speaking of money, we got HB1, the speaker's priority, as you well know. That's why he named it HB1, and that is sweeping tax reform that would ultimately phase out the income tax down to zero and make some other adjustments as well. Mm-hmm. The Senate has a different approach to that. They want to do something, but it stops short of full elimination. Might we get into conference and hammer something out or not at this point?
I would, and this is just Scott Bounds talking, I would say right now the odds or the chances of us getting into conference and hammering something out are diminishing.
I agree.
Daily.
I would agree.
And look, the clouds could part, and I hope they do. I hope we're able to come to a point to where we can come together on tax reform. But I will tell you that's something that's not going to change is that elimination of the income tax is still a number one priority of the House of Representatives.
Okay.
Still a number one priority of the House of the Representatives. And I will tell you, let's go back to 2016 when we first started the reduction of the income tax brackets to where we're at right now. We have seen growth each and every year, fiscal year, for the last 9 years that we have had reduction in the personal income tax. And just as an appropriator, being on the Appropriations Committee, it's our job, and part of my job is to look at revenues and having what revenues are we going to have, and what are we going to be able to appropriate for money as an appropriator. And the growth that we have experienced, Gerard, in the last 9 years, when we have started the path to a reduction to hopefully elimination of the income tax, has proven that when you reduce the amount of money you're taking out of people's pocket and they put it back into the economy in different ways, your economy will grow. And that is that's the position of the House. And,
okay.
And we will stay on that. We will stay on that path. And I don't know what vehicle will be the vehicle if we have one. I don't know if it'll be House Bill 1 or the Senate bill, but there are differences in both measures right now, but the House is, elimination of the personal income tax is still a number one priority in the House.
If the Senate's bill, of course, which stops short of that, but does reduce the income tax down to 2.99, and then it also reduces the sales tax on groceries,
right,
doesn't touch the general sales tax, is that something you think the House would support if that's the best we could do in the Senate?
You're talking about those three components right there?
Well, those are the main provisions of the Senate plan.
I do not.
Okay.
I do not think the
Bottom
House,
got to eliminate the income tax.
It's got to eliminate the income tax.
Okay. I tend to agree with you.
It's got to eliminate the income tax. We're basically on the same page on the grocery tax. We differ a little bit on the fuel tax. I think they want to do a 3 cents.
That's right.
Gallon per year for 3 years, and
that's right.
9 cents. Gerard, while that's admirable, that doesn't generate. In the first year, it doesn't generate about $30 million. And second year, it would generate 60, and third year, 90. But, MDOT tells us they need at least 350 to 400 million sustainable recurring income annually to do what they need to do in maintenance, capacity, engineering, planning, and all of that.
Okay.
And the House's proposal on the fuel tax is a little bit more aggressive. It would bring in around $380 million a year, but
in the form of a sales tax.
In form of a sales tax on gasoline, right? Fuel tax. So, and Speaker and I have just had passing in the hall conversations about the fuel tax. Gerard, this is one of those things that the fuel tax is something. The legislature, if we pass something, probably not going to touch in a long time again.
Yeah,
and we need to get it right.
That's the current situation.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. We need to get it right this time, and we think the House has a solid plan on that. The House, part of our House Bill 1 proposal was that we were going to take $100 million from the lottery that is being generated now and put it into PERS, and right now, as you know, the first $80 million goes to MDOT. Well, with this dedicated stream out of the fuel tax, that would allow us to have the money for MDOT right there. But we're looking at, I will tell you, the House Appropriations, the appropriators, Chairman Reed, who's the main chairman, Chairman A, and Angela Cockerham, she's vice chairman, and then it's myself, and Representative Mills, Representative DeWeese, and Representative Oliver. We have worked on the fiscal year 26 budget. We have basically maintained level spending for the FY26 budget. In this year's House proposal just increases the FY26 general fund spending by 0.031%, which is very, very lean. Now, we are of the position in the House that the state agencies can live with that.
Okay.
We are in position in the House. The state agencies can live with that. Now, there's going to be some additional critical needs that are out there. I know CPS is, Child Protection Services is going to need some additional dollars. But still, we're talking about maybe just 30 to 40 million additional dollars in critical needs that we have got to do. But still, we're going to keep the budget under 7.2 billion, and in the general fund budget, which is just very basically about where we were last year. Yeah,
about 7.1, I think, is where we were last year. So are you concerned about the possibility of Medicaid, the needs in Medicaid, requiring an increase in spending. Is just organic needs is what natural increases. Price of health care is going up, as you know, quite a bit. In fact, I think the state's looking at having to spend additional money on insurance premiums for our state and public sector employees. So
yes, well, and I will tell you on that line, and I want to go back to the Medicaid question. In our LBR, but in the proposed budget the House has adopted for FY26, we have included the cost of health insurance for state employees and the PERS increase. You know, we got to do a 2.5% increase on that this year.
Over 5 years.
Yeah, right. So we have included that in this year's budget and still able to maintain it at 0.
Another 0.5.
Right.
I'm worried about the Trump administration slashing Medicaid to the states.
That is one reason I think, Gerard, that the legislature has been a little bit hesitant to address anything in additional Medicaid spending this year, just because we do not know yet. And I don't want to speak for the chairman of Medicaid or anybody, but we don't know yet what's coming down in the Trump system. So,
Representative Scott Bounds has been our guest in the Element West studio. Appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
We're coming right back, folks. Stay with us.